everybody, and welcome back to the Leeds Lens. This is the second time we've been live today. Obviously, we went live earlier regarding the Perri news and the Perri update there. But we're back today with, back this evening with, obviously, my favourite show of the week, the Friday night show. And boy, have we got a lot to get into today. We're actually going to be discussing this sort of Amora thing that's going around and I've seen over. He was in Waco and it looks like he's been left out the Wolfsburg squad, so we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk a bit more about the situation with Lucas Perri. Now I've all got all my thoughts together after my live reaction. Almost like a closing whistle of the Lucas Perri thing, I guess. We're also going to talk a bit about Joel Piroe and the update there. Is he going to leave? Is he going to stay? I'm a bit bored of these topics, I must admit. That's why they're going to be later in the video. We're also going to be talking a bit about Strand Larsen, the updates there. Obviously, it looks like Crystal Palace have come back on the table there as well. And finally, like Crow guy said in the chat, we are going to also do a bit of an Arsenal wrap-up, Arsenal preview as well. I've got quite a bit to say about that because I think with the Arsenal preview before we go into it, and obviously we'll go into more detail later in the video, but everyone's almost saying this is a free hit, and I just really disagree with that. Like, I think this is an opportunity for Leeds United to get points. And actually with where we are in the league, obviously in a relegation battle at this moment in time, every opportunity that you've got to get points, and in a weekend where we know West Ham are playing Chelsea, this could be a really good opportunity for Leeds, actually. I know we're playing a really good team in Arsenal, but I do think it's not as cut and dry that we're just going to get beat as it probably was earlier in the season. I generally do think we've got a chance, so we'll talk a bit about that as well. But obviously, if you could help the channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff does massively help the channel. The support, as I said recently, has just been absolutely ridiculous. If people have seen my subscriber count, it's just going up and up and up. So I can only just thank you guys for it. There's not really much I can say. I can't give you any money. So, but yeah, I would really, really appreciate that, guys. So yeah, thank you. And obviously, if you are new, you could help the channel by just like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Obviously, I am still a small channel in the grand scheme of things. So if you could help, so basically, when I get like breakout videos where if it gets loads of likes and loads of subscriptions from one particular video, it goes, wow, that's a banger compared to his other crap content, and pushes it massively through the algorithms. So if you could do that, that would be fantastic. We've got some comments. John was actually talking before even I started talking, and he said, look, I'm getting fed up if you think we are going to get Strand Larsen. It's just on Sky Sports, and Wolves will pay 50 million for him. So let's forget about it. Yeah, I have seen that about Strand Larsen. I've seen the fact of where they're kind of at with it. Our board are clowns. I disagree with that. I can't believe they went their own club to fail deadline day. Nothing's happening like the summer window. Clown running this club. That's why, mate. Honestly, with this, because you've said clowns a few times with our board. How long have you been supporting Leeds? Not to like as a dig here, but if you've seen clowns at our football club, I feel like you wouldn't think that. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you've thought all of our owners are clowns, but we have had Cellino at this football club. We've had Ken Bates. We've had Radrazani. These owners are, I don't care what anyone says. I know people are disappointed, and I think if we miss out on Strand Larsen, a lot of us will be disappointed, myself included. But let's not pretend that we've had owners like this. This is the best owners we've had for probably 2 decades, if we're being totally honest. So I don't think they're doing that bad. I mean, as I said, in the first season, they got us near enough promotion from an absolute shambles of relegation. Second season, we did get promoted, and third season, we're a newly promoted club, sat outside the religation zone with 16 games left, 6 points clear of the relegation zone, having had a really decent transfer window. So it does feel like a bit harsh. 59 years. This is what I mean. But do you not remember like the Ken Bates era and the Cellino era and the Radrazani era? Like, surely you can bear that in mind and go, well, they're better than them, surely. Crow guys says, yo, Arsenal got struck. Yeah, look, I think the Arsenal game, as I said, I think there's potential for Leeds United in that one. Evening, Scott Matching together. Evening to you too, Jack. Nice to see you in the chat, mate. Aaron says, hello, Scotty T. Scotty T's a new one, I must admit. My name's Scotty, but my last name doesn't start with a T, unfortunately. Genkataka or High grew as a backup if Strand Larsen doesn't work out. I have seen that. People actually mentioned that in yesterday's show, and I was like, I didn't know if it was some people trying to like get me with a name, but actually it is actually a player. I've never heard of him before, but that's my knowledge for you. But yeah, I have seen that link. But should we start with this Amora deal anyway? Because I think this is something that's doing the rounds on Twitter at this moment in time. He's the new lad in the book that everybody's talking about. So I thought, oh, let's start talking about him. So for anyone that doesn't know, basically over the last sort of 24 hours, there's been a name popping around the old infamous Waco forum, and that name is a guy called Amora. Now, Amora is a 25-year-old striker that currently plays for Wolfsburg, Algerian international, and he's played in the Bundesliga now for 2 seasons for Wolfsburg. Interesting, though, with him, I know he's 25, and straight away everyone's going, Leeds United love a 25-year-old. Yes, we do love a 25-year-old, but he is 5'7", so I think that potentially throws it in jeopardy in terms of if Leeds United are going and buying a striker, is that the sort of profile that we've looked at in the past? Potentially not. Like when we talked about the Troy Parrott deal, we obviously went, all right, well, maybe Leeds United look at Troy Parrott, but would they? Because that's not the sort of striker that's Leeds United. We know, I've always said this, we know Leeds United want Strand Larsen, and we'll want Strand Larsen because of the profile that he offers, and obviously the tall frame that he can bring in, the fact that he can bring people into air with his height, and that's the sort of striker he is. So Leeds United now completely pivot into a different sort of profile. I always felt it was quite unlikely, but maybe, I'm not saying it's out of the realms. And I think some of the people saying it on Wacko have got some stuff right in the past. And more importantly, with this Amora guy, he's actually been left out of the Wolfsburg team tonight. Now, I don't know if that's because of this speculation to Leeds United. It might be, but I'm not going to come in here and say yes, I know either way, because I honestly don't. But that is the situation with him. But yeah, 5'7", 25-year-old, actually has scored quite a few goals in the Bundesliga as well. This year, I think he's played 19 games, 13 starts, got 7 goals, 2 assists. Last season, 10 goals and 9 assists in the 29 starts. So he's someone that can get involved with a lot of goal contributions. Interestingly enough, though, when I look at this player, he looks like a player that's going to play up front with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Like, at the moment, we've obviously got... I don't think we've got the sort of big striker, small striker combination up there. Like we've got Calvert-Lewin, and at times if we want to do that, we'll put Okafor all the way up. But a lot of the times when Okafor plays, as you guys will know, we sort of go into more like a sort of 5-4-1 sort of thing, and you've got Okafor on the left hand side, and that's kind of how we play. But actually, if you brought someone like him there, then you could go back to the 3-5-2, and you could actually have big man, small man up front, and Calvert-Lewin and this like could play off him. And actually, as I said, if you look last year, especially his assist ratios, actually getting 9 assists in 29 starts for a striker is pretty good going. So again, that is could he drop in and be that link-up striker alongside of Calvert-Lewin? Maybe it'd work, and maybe that's what Leeds United are looking at. But yeah, I'm not. Look, truthfully, I don't know loads about this fella, if I'm being totally honest. But apparently, from all accounts, he has been quite a standout player in the Wolfsburg team. And actually, if you look at sort of what Leeds United's recruitment, we have recruited a lot out of the Bundesliga naturally. And even if you know when we looked at Schmidt, obviously, in the transfer window, again, he was someone standing out for a lower league team, or not a lower league team, but a lower level team in the Bundesliga as well. So potentially, it's something that Leeds United would look at. I'm not saying they won't, I'm not saying they will, but it could be an option moving forward. But as I said, I think I always say with these stories, because they first get, if a Wacko story is true, obviously, first of all, you hear it on Wacko, and then after like maybe two or 3 days, you get all the journalists then coming out with a story. So we haven't heard anything about this by sort of maybe Sunday evening. It's probably nonsense. And if we have heard something by Sunday evening, there's probably some truth in it. Because right now, you'll have Graham asking the club, what is going on with this? And is there something in this player? And then obviously you'll get a yes or no from that. And that's where obviously it'll come from. Or you'll get a David Ornstein, like we saw with the Strand Larsen thing. Like the Strand Larsen thing came out of nowhere, didn't it? It was... his odds fell through the roof, and then all of a sudden, a few days later, David Ornstein does a sort of bomber, quote-unquote, as Knight's referred to in the transfer world now. And then, of course, you saw the progression of that deal over time. Now, are we going to get him or not is another question, but, you know. Yes, mate. No one is coming to Leeds on transfer deadline day, Leeds. Okay, do you know that? Do you work at the club, John? I presume that you do, mate, because if you know that for sure, then I mean, you know, you must work there. Raymond says, Hi, Strand Larsen should be sold to Newcastle, 50 million quid plus 5. In a deal for Strand Larsen, sign and deal for Newcastle now from Ray. I'm not quite sure what you mean. John Pepper, a lot of your posts will come across as more sensible if you added, in my opinion, says BMG. Potentially, mate, potentially. But that's kind of what I've just, I guess, mocked in a roundabout way. But anyway, let's move on and talk a bit about this Lucas Perri thing, because I was thinking about this when I was in the gym, because that's what I was obviously doing between today's show and then obviously coming on this evening. I don't think this Perri thing is going to happen, you know. I really don't. I know I was kind of easing towards this way anyway, sort of on the stream, but I just can't see it. I don't think Leeds United, when you look at sort of how we've operated, especially with goalkeepers, we're not ones that tend to change really quickly. And I don't think Leeds United would now, because I think if they lost Perri, they'd have to go and replace Perri in the transfer market. And I don't see Leeds United doing that right now. I just don't see it. So unless there's a silly bid from Besiktas that's like an unrefusable bid, then you know, unless that's the case, then obviously I don't think they'll sell him because I don't think they did put the pressure on themselves to go and recruit another goalkeeper before time, and they're not going to run to the end of the season with just Darlow Melia. They wouldn't do that. So as I said, unless a silly offer comes in from Besiktas, which I don't think it will, because clubs are not stupid, I don't think Perry will move on. But maybe he will, because why would they put it in the first place if that was the case? Do you know it all? No, I don't, John, but that we always say my opinion throughout the whole thing, because we give our opinion on things. We're not saying we know it all, but we just give our opinion, basically, is all we do. I have no connection to the football club at all. I'm happy to make that completely clear. I know some YouTubers potentially have some sources. I don't. I have no sources at all. I just sort of say it as I think, really. John Pepper, we don't claim to. If there was to sell him, they'd want to make their money back. Yeah, exactly, and I think that's where we're at with the Perry situation. Like, I do wonder if you could get your money back in January, then I think they should take that and they should back themselves, because they should have a spreadsheet of all different positions. I think they probably will do, of different positions, and if players were to move on, where we would act on. So you would hope that if a suitable offer came in that actually we got our money back from Perry, then we probably should. Go and then we should better go and sell him and then bring someone in. You would hope that would be a possibility, but I don't. The thing is with it, I don't think Besiktas will put an offer in that is an unrefusable offer to Leeds United. That's kind of part of where I think this might fall down. I don't think that'll happen either. Won't sell Perry as no visible backup, and they won't panic buy. Yeah, that's kind of it. We need a striker, and if JCL is not happening, we need a backup option. For me, a left wing back would be great to see Leeds doing. That maybe not. Yeah, look, the left back's one that I think Leeds United Miller should get on board with. That we've talked about the left back for quite a left wing back quite a considerable time. I do actually think Justin played better than I expected him to do on Monday night, and I wonder if the 49ers look at that as well and think actually he can cover there, because we know part of the reason they recruited James just in the summer was, look, we weren't going to get a left back cover and a right back cover, so can we bring someone that can do both? And now I think Justin's proved that he can do both at each side. I still don't love it on that left hand side, but I can't talk about his attacking work when he did actually score a goal, obviously, against Everton in the first game that he was playing that position in. And I do think he's relatively comfortable at left wing back. And actually, I think James Justin has proved really decent versatility. He's played right wing back now, he's played right centre back, and he's played left wing back. That's a very important player to the football club. And it was, to be honest, James Justin as a roundabout was a really good signing for Leeds. But yeah, I think we'll have to see on that. But I think you'd have to see a bad injury to the end of the season. I know Fark said in his press conference recently that injuries are not going to affect it. The injuries we've got aren't going to affect it. But say Justin, the Goodmanson injury was down and he was out for the rest of the season, then I think you would see some movement there, naturally. But that isn't the case, is it? It's a shame there wasn't a better and earlier offer for Perry, so we could offload without a PSR loss with time to get a replacement. It feels like too late at this point, in my opinion. Kind of basically bang on to where I am, BMG, mate, in truth. Yeah, that's kind of where I am. I still, because I don't think we'll get the money in the summer. If we could get our money back for Perry, I'd still do it. And I think, as I said, I would hope we've got a spreadsheet, and we should do, of all different players in different positions, that then we can just go down that list and sort of and get a keeper that maybe would work for all of us. Anyway, let's move on to a bit about Joel Piroe. But I do feel like with Piroe, I've sort of talked to a death in it, so I'm going to kind of leave this segment not particularly long. We're just going to cover the updates, really. But the updates is it looks like he's not going to go to Rangers now, and it's still coming out from multiple sources, to be honest, that he's quite happy at Leeds United and he wants to stay at Leeds United. And I'm now getting to the point with it where I'm not convinced a striker's going to come in. And I've always said with the sort of Joel Piroe situation, I think if a striker was to come in and he goes fourth choice, he'd probably move on. But if he stays at third choice, I do think he'll stay at the football club. I think the ideal for Leeds United is obviously he goes to Ipswich on a permanent. I think that's perfect because he's only going to go down in value with his contract depreciating, and only have 1 year left on his contract in the summer, and naturally not being in a team. So ideally we get a seller from in January. But as I said, if he stays as third choice, he probably is going to end up staying. And that's kind of where I'm at with it, really. And then in terms of Strand Larsen, which is obviously naturally related to Perau, because obviously if Strand Larsen comes in, then maybe we can get a situation with Perau moving on then. But it looks like, and we thought this anyway, and I talked a bit about this obviously in the sort of breaking news video that I did earlier regarding Perry. It looks like with Strand Larsen that Crystal Palace have come back onto the table, and I'm not particularly surprised with that, if I'm being honest. I wonder what had happened with, this is just me, this is complete speculation, but I wonder if Crystal Palace felt that selling Mateta to Forest was going to be a PR disaster, because obviously they're playing him at the weekend. Obviously, they're in a relegation battle naturally with Nottingham Forest as well. does that look good on paper to sell to a rival in this position? I mean, imagine if we were selling Calvert-Lewin to Nottingham Forest. I mean, we'd all be going absolutely mad. So realistically, maybe there's a situation here where Steve Parish didn't want to do that and then realised that was going to look bad in terms of publicity. And obviously, they've been going through quite bad publicity recently anyway, the Crystal Palace board. So I wonder if what's happened is they pulled that deal and then obviously AC Milan have turned up to buy Mateta and they've gone, actually, we'll sell him to AC Milan. We just didn't want to sell him to Forest. And then it's obviously, then they've ended up going, then Mateta's now looking like he's off to AC Milan. And then, of course, they come back in for Strand Larsen and then obviously beat us to that signing. So I wonder if that's what's happening. I'm not saying that's the truth, but it wouldn't surprise you all, would it? I don't think. If this was any other club, then BC Cross, I think it would be serious. But that team, to mess us around, I'm not quite sure what I mean. Would you rather Strand Larsen or Amora? Truthfully, LUFC, Oscar, I don't know loads about this Amora, mate. But in terms of a profile wise, he's 5'7". Obviously, Strand Larsen's 6'3". Personally, I would like us to go and buy another big striker. So for me, I think the Strand Larsen deal works better. Is my honest feeling. Understood West Ham is in for Ortega on loan. Man City's third choice keeper, says Sebastian. I thought he was off to Forest, mate. With that deal, I thought he was off to Forest. Maybe that's updated and he's going to West Ham now. I thought he was going to Forest though. And to be honest with you, he's a sort of player that ideally I would prefer Trafford. If I'm being honest, I think Trafford's a better goalkeeper than Ortega personally. But Trafford would be someone that I'd really love if obviously. If and then Ortega could become the number 2 at Man City potentially, and then we could get Trafford. That would be ideal. But obviously, if Ortega's going, maybe you could do Ortega, but I don't know. We still got Meslier, and he should have gone 2 years ago. Yeah, we should have got rid of Meslier, but it's tricky when he's on the money he's on. It's tricky to move him on, and obviously, naturally, with these, you can't blame the owners for the Meslier contract because they didn't give out the contract. It was Rebrezani and co that did that. So there is still a few problems in the football club. Jack Harrison's one of these as well, who's a problem of the past, and you can't really blame the ownership massively on that. I'm 50-50 on a striker or anyone coming in. I think we should get an insurance at centre forward and left back, but I'm not sure we will. I think striker's the more important one because it's just fundamentally it's just a more important position than left back. Like if Calvert-Lewin goes down injured, I think we are in serious trouble. I honestly do. I think that could be a nightmare. Whereas I think if Goodmanson was out for the season, I don't think it would be as bad. Even if it was Sam Byram at left back, I'd put it this way: I'd actually rather have Sam Byram playing left wing back than I would Perau up front. And people might think that's mad, but it's just the striker is just a more important position for Leeds United. So if I had to pick one, I would go the striker because, as I said, it's just a more important position. Sebastian, I saw that on Ortega, which is a shame because we could have used him. Yeah, I thought he's not bad, but apparently I talked to a City fan quite a lot in the gym, and he actually didn't rate Ortega at all and thinks he's crap. So maybe that's one that sometimes with these players like these goalkeepers especially, you find that the top clubs actually they have these players that everyone thinks that the goalkeeper's really good and sometimes not. But as you said, I've never minded when I've watched him. Who the hell would root their lives and go to move to Ipswich? Yeah, true, mate, true. This is Leeds, so focus on one player and then there's no other option out there. I've still thought that. I still kind of... I must admit, I've thought for a while, you guys know this, that it's kind of Strand Larsen or bust. Ollie, nice to see you in the chat, mate. I haven't seen you for a while. He says, evening, strange to have a good feeling about tomorrow. Can't see Perau leaving now. Seen we're linked with that Amora and not in the Wolfsburg squad tomorrow. Still love JCL come if possible. Yeah, I'm kind of with that, mate. I'm kind of like that. As we said, we'll talk later in the video actually about the Arsenal game. But as I said at the start of the video, I've not got a particularly bad feeling about tomorrow. Leeds United are doing well at home, and there's a few other things that I want to read out with stats wise that I think you guys will be interested in. I thought you said Zamora for a minute. He's a bit old. Yeah, maybe not Zamora, mate. That might not be the one. Sorry, you're right. It's Forest need. Okay, yeah. Ortega or Trafford on loan would be lovely. Can't see us getting a keeper. Priorities should be centre back, left wing back, and striker. They should, mate. They should. I completely agree with that. They put all their eggs in one basket, and look what they come out with. Right, okay. With 2020 hindsight, we should have sold Meslier and Harrison when their value peaked, and we didn't know how badly they'd both regress. Yeah, you're right. We've messed up on Harrison and Ding. And actually, I don't know if anyone follows Lord Ash on Twitter. I'm sure you do. He's actually been in the chat before on here, and he tweeted out yesterday. I think we turned down a bid for Jack Harrison of over £20 million. I mean, how much we would love a bid like that for Jack Harrison now is ridiculous. Bolan has put all in capitals. You're supposed to give 50 million, then send a letter. You're not interested. You think Wolves want to deal with CP? No chance. I'm not sure what you mean. We should have got Keller in the summer before Brentford. Thought it was a no-brainer. Yeah, I agree. I wasn't. I'd heard from a few Liverpool fans actually that he wasn't that good, Kelleher. But I always really liked him. I always really liked him. And you're right, and he's done quite well at Brentford, and so he was a good deal to do, and we should have done that. Sometimes with Leeds, we haven't done open goals, have we? And I think he was probably an open goal. But yeah, it didn't happen, did it? And also, actually, when you were first talking about Kelleher, I don't know if you remember, but the fees getting knocked about were like 40 million quid, whereas actually he ended up going for less than 20. I think he did. I think he went for less than Perri did, which is a bit of a laughable situation, really. I might be wrong on that, but I think it's true. Sebastian says we need to pray that JSL plays very hard and tells Wolves he's not willing to go to Palace and only wants to move to Leeds. Yeah, that's the best case scenario, mate. But I don't think he's Strand Larsen's opposed to coming to Leeds. I just don't think he's opposed to going to Palace either. I think he's just happy to go to either club. PSF says I trust the 49ers do what's best for the club. If we don't get anyone else in the window, I'm okay with that. Yeah, you've actually been quite solid with this quite a long time, PSF, haven't you? You've always been a bit against the manager, but actually in terms of the sort of ownership of the club, you're probably quite different to John Pepper in that sense. You've always backed him, and you've been quite consistent in terms of calm in the window. And yeah, I think that's where the board see it as well, mate. In truth, still weird now that a 50 million offer can be made without actual concrete proof of an offer. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a strange. Like I listened to sort of Graham Smith talk about how offers are done now, and it all does seem a bit weird. It's not like a fax machine like it would have been back in the day. BMG says I still say that we should have enough to stay up unless key players get injured at once. Striker and left back, the obvious weak spots. Yeah, they are in terms of we just don't have the obvious replacements in that position, mate. I agree with that. We had 4 or 5 championship players who have stepped up. Why not Perau? Why not Perau? Because he doesn't have, in my opinion, I've said this loads, he doesn't have the attributes, in my personal opinion, to work for this Leeds United team. We played a very different brand of football in the Championship compared to how we're playing in the Premier League. I'm sure you're all aware of that. We've gone down the physical approach. We're actually really good for set pieces at the moment. I think we're the 3rd top scorers in the league for set pieces. If you remember in the Championship seasons, we were terrible at set pieces because we had a smaller team. We didn't focus that part of our game. We've obviously employed going the long strategy. We're going long into a forward now, playing off him. Again, doesn't suit Perau's game. I also think Perau, because he's so bad off the ball, you've got to carry, in my opinion. So, I think that's kind of a situation. CP is Crystal Palace. Okay, fuming, I haven't got tickets for Amora, so Fire Stick PC. Last time we played Arsenal at home, we battered them 1-0 in a 1-0 loss. Our season collapsed from that. But yeah, I know, mate, I was at that game, and I believe Bamford missed a penalty, if I remember rightly. I think someone should have been sent off as well, if I can remember rightly. Keller was about 15 million, I think, and I thought he was a bit unproven, but he's been okay from what I've seen. Yeah, agreed. Scott, why are you blanking my questions, lol? Sorry, mate, have I blanked one? Let me see if I can find it. I've been it's a bit trickier. I don't. All right, I see what you've done there. Sterling is 1 on a free. Just a thought, Scott. I'm calm, my friend. I'm just angry with our recruitment. No, that's fine, mate. And look, part of the channel here, mate, is that we all sort of are entitled to our own opinion. And obviously, your opinion is that the board are not doing enough, which is fair enough because I think people see what sort of West Ham have done this window in terms of they've bought 2 strikers, but mainly Forest. Like I've seen it a lot on Twitter today regarding Forest, where people are going, look at all the players they're buying and look at sort of what we're doing. I must admit, long term, I was talking about this the other day on the stream, I always prefer a less emotional ownership group, and I like the fact that we're quite calm, if I'm being totally honest. I know we'd like Leeds United to go and spend willy-nilly here and there, and I'm sure the Forest fans are loving it right now, what they're doing in the window, going for bidding for Ayari, going for Ortega, going for all these players, going for Mateta as well. But I think that will end in... this is a complete guess, but in terms of long-term stability, I don't think behaving like Marinakis behaves at Forest leads to long-term success. That's my feeling. I know he pumps loads of money in. I know he probably gets on with the fans really well because he probably does what a lot of the fans are thinking. I think sometimes a much more less emotional approach and steady all the way and slow, methodical sort of... project all the way up to where you want to get to is a better approach to go down, and I like what Leeds are doing in that sense. I must admit, I think I like the fact that we're calm, and I like a lot of the stuff we do. It does kind of make a lot of sense, to be honest. even though we don't like it at the time. Like even if you look last season, sort of everyone was clamming for someone in the January transfer window. They didn't do anyone in the January transfer window, and it kind of worked. And it was basically Archer or bust at that point, wasn't it? And it did work. Let the main shortcomings of Perau are lack of physicality and pace. Yeah, they are. They're definitely problems with him. We are a DCL away injury from disaster. Need a striker in. I don't think it will be JSL. Yeah, I agree, mate. I do think we need a striker. For me, I don't think it's like reactionary to think that we should go in the same breath to what I've just said. I don't think it's reactionary to think we should go in the market and buy a striker, or at least get someone on loan who can at least match the sort of attributes of Calvert-Lewin, because I really do wonder, because Nemec has picked up quite a few injuries at Leeds now. I know they've not all been really long-term injuries, but he keeps getting injuries all the way through, and obviously he's picked up another hamstring injury now. I do kind of worry about him if he's to lead the line, because I think you quite quickly would find that he can't do it for long enough, and then he's out the team again, and you're playing with no one. As I said, like if worst case scenario, if the end of the window closes and Calvert-Lewin goes down injured, we are in serious trouble. We are in serious trouble. There are 4 certainties in life: death, taxes, Palace going down, and Sterling being crap. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Sterling. I've seen it's all nonsense though, innit? Like I think that even the Square Ball were taking the mick out the other day. I don't know if anyone saw it, but they were basically saying like, I'm going to make up a transfer rumor. I saw Sterling in Leeds or something. John Pepper, what exactly have the 49ers done wrong since owning Leeds? Farke is the only one who's underperformed. I disagree with that part bit, and I don't think the 49ers done everything right either. But I'm kind of in between the two there. Why did we give Sam Byron a new contract this deal if we're not going to use him, says Aaron. I'm not fully sure, mate. I think he's obviously just on not hardly any money at all, and obviously he can fill in at left back and right back. And I think what they thought is if they bring Justin as well, then he's the sort of first choice replacement for left back and right back. And then if he's down or can't play both, and we've got 2 injuries there, then obviously he's like the 4th choice, and he's so cheap that it's probably worth it. So I think that's kind of where they're at, really. The board are taking a huge risk if they don't sign anyone, but we've got a good position, and we already have Biol, and we have Biol and GG to come back. Yeah, we do. Let's hope, since Palace go down this year, it's a nice opportunity to realise this. Yeah, I don't think they're going to go down, though. The thing is with Palace, and I said this earlier, I think, they're 8 points ahead of West Ham. So there's only 16 games left, so that means that West Ham are going to have to win 3 more games to the end of the season. And how many games do we think West Ham are going to win for the rest of the season? Let's say, do people think 5, 6 maybe? I think 6 in 16 will be a lot of wins. So if they say they won 6, that would mean that Crystal Palace only need to win 3 for the rest of the season. I just don't see that. I think they'll win more than 3 in 16 personally, but I might be wrong. I know they're on a bad run. Sorry, by the way, if I don't catch everyone's comments, I do apologise. It's just been a bit busier recently, and I just can't get through them all. It's okay spending like West Ham and Forest, but either goes down, they will be financially shattered financially. Yeah, exactly, mate. I saw his link with Chilwell, but I really don't want that. There's a reason he's playing for left centre back for Strasbourg. His legs have gone. Yeah, the Chilwell link though was a guy called Ekram Konkar, and I heard from a journalist that I used to talk to quite regularly that guy ain't even a person. Like it's just a made up character, and apparently therefore it's all nonsense. Let's sell Nemec in the summer. I'm not sure about that. I just like him as a 3rd choice striker, and I think that's kind of what it should be, really. Also, Aaron, I think Byram is just an emergency backup. We only use him as a last resort. He can probably cope. I'm sure he's okay with his role at this stage of his career. Yeah, I think that. DCL ain't scored for a while now. Leeds need a new strike partner. Yeah, potentially. Sterling would be an upgrade, but far too expensive and risky. I don't think he would be. I honestly don't think he would be. I don't rate Sterling at all, and he's actually not really played any football for 18 months now, and it's a massive risk with players like that. I've always said with the January transfer window, there's only 16 games left, and obviously after this game there'll be 15 games left of the season, so you kind of need someone who's going to be ready to go straight away, because if you've got to give them a pre-season almost and play them into form, or they've got to do a lot of training sessions before they can get in the team, a little bit like we had to do with Calvert-Lewin in the summer. You don't have it long enough to make it even worth it. So it's got to be someone that you can, like, do you know like Semenyo at City at the moment and Gueye at City, where they can just come straight into the team because they've been playing regular football? For me, if Leeds United are going to go into the market, that's what they need to do. In the next 5 matches, we need 4 points. And all will be good, tough games. Yeah, there is tough games in our next 5. We've always talked about we just need to get to where Sunderland, to that Sunderland game, obviously the home game, and that's our last 10, and our last 10 are really good. And we should stay up if we're sort of still outside the relegation at that point. Remember when we're very limited by PSR with much more than Sunderland, and we've done well considering our position was more like Burnley, and we've performed much better than them. Exactly, BMG, you bang on. What about the Sunderland keeper? Mate, I'd love the Sunderland keeper, but they aren't going to sell him. And if they are, it's going to end up going to like one at top 6 probably, or abroad maybe. If I was you, if you was Strand Larsen, why would you go to Palace knowing their new manager is going to not knowing who their manager is going to be? They are in Europe, mates, and they should win. Really, they should win the Conference League. Just if you look at the teams in there, there's no one really of quality, so they should win it, and that'll obviously mean then they'll be in the Europa League as well next season. So if they stay up this year, that project still doesn't look that bad, just because of what they could do. If you were Larsen, would you want to come to a relegation threatened club? You'd rather go to a side knocking on the door of European football like Newcastle. You would, but I don't think Newcastle want him, do they? But what if Palace wasn't in Europe? Would he go there? No, he wouldn't, mate. But they are in Europe, so it's tricky because they are. Next week, Forest is a must-win regardless of what happens this weekend. Yeah, agree with that. If I was Strand Larsen, I'd avoid Palace. An unhappy manager and a team, mate. You hate Palace, though, don't you, BMG? You'd go to Bolton Wanderers before you go to Palace. Jordan says, how many players do you think we will sign by the end of the window? Stone is a winger at one position we don't need. Yeah, I agree with both of them. Well, I don't agree with the first one. It's a question, but how many players do you think we'll sign? I'm gonna go with none. I'm gonna go with no more. Larsen would get a bottom half. We'll only get a bottom half team, says Jordan. Yeah, I agree with that. It was Phil that said that other question as well. Anyway, let's talk a bit about the Arsenal game, shall we? Because and then we'll get back to some of your comments. But let me just have a little sort of phase about the Arsenal game where I'm at. So I think I watched the Arsenal Man United game at the weekend. I'm sure a lot of you guys did as well. I think they're in a vulnerable position at this moment. I don't think they're playing well at all. I think it's the worst I've seen them in a long time. It's actually the first time they conceded 3 goals in something like 2 years, and I do think they're vulnerable. And I actually think when you look at what Arsenal's strengths are at this moment in time and what our strengths are, they're actually the same. Their best things, in my opinion, is they're very strong and they're a very powerful team, and they're really good at set pieces. And some of Leeds United's best thing is we're strong, we're powerful, and we're good at set pieces. So if we can neutralise their best part of their game, which is as I said, what we talked about, the strong, powerful, good on set pieces, if we can neutralise that and stop them scoring a set piece goal, which will still be very, very tricky because we're playing without, for me, our best defensive header of the ball in Biol. So that will be massively tricky, and Gabriel's an absolute unit for them, and he is back fit now, of course. So that will be tricky, no doubt about it. But if we can stop them on set pieces, I do think we can neutralise Arsenal. And the other thing I want to say with this Arsenal game as well is Leeds United have played 11 home games so far this season, and we've got 19 points. And Arsenal have played 11 away games, and so far they've got 21 points. So actually, Arsenal away are not that far off as good as Leeds United are at home in a roundabout way. I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you look at points total so far this season, if we'd have hold on to that win against Bournemouth, where we conceded in the last minute, we'd have actually picked up as many points as they have away in 11 games as we have at home, and it looks quite similar. So I think that's something we've got to bear in mind with this game, because I do think the Ellen Road atmosphere we know is a massive importance for us, and I don't think it's as clear cut as it's ever been that sort of Arsenal are going to come beat us. Even if you look at the Forest result that they had the week before that, obviously they drew 0-0 with Forest away, and I think we can do something similar. But I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet, is my honest feeling. So I think we are going to have to score. But I think if we can score in the game, I think we can make it really tricky for Arsenal at the weekend. And I absolutely do not see, and I don't really want to hear it, to be honest, that it's like a write-off and it's sort of like a free hit. I don't think it is. I think every home game for Leeds is an opportunity to get points. We've played 11 home games so far this season, and we've lost 2 of them. And actually the 2 we've lost are Aston Villa, which, to be honest, if we'd have changed system and gone to the 5-back, I don't think we'd have lost. And we did that, and we didn't do that, and that was the case. And the other one was Spurs right at the start of the season. If anyone watched that Spurs game, we didn't deserve to lose that either. So, and we probably did deserve to lose Liverpool game, so maybe it evens itself out. But what I mean is that I do think we're in a position where we can take on this Arsenal team. And even if you listen to sort of like, I was saying this earlier in the stream earlier. Even if you listen to Gary Neville on the overlap, I know, and Gary Neville's a mank and he wants Arsenal to win the league. Even he was saying that actually Leeds United he thinks they've got a good chance, and he actually predicted in his Super Six that they've got a draw. So I don't think I'm sort of shooting from the hip here and I'm using massive bias. Maybe you guys think I am, but I don't think I am. And I've even, as I said, talked to a few people who are sort of fans that are not Leeds United fans, and a lot of them think that at Ellen Road it will be tricky, and I do think that we can, and they do think we'll get something. And as I said, for me, it's the best time you could have possibly played Arsenal. And truthfully, as I said, Forest are below us in the league, and they got a draw last weekend against Arsenal, or the weekend before last against Arsenal, before they even went through this rut and before they looked as bad defensively as they did in the game against Man United. So overall, where I'm at with it, kind of, is that look, probably Arsenal will probably win. Truthfully, and they probably should win because they've got miles better players. I don't think any of our players personally get in an 11 for them at all. I think the combined 11 will be all them. They've got a better manager, obviously, in Arteta, and they probably should win the game. But football's not played like that, is it? And I think if you look at, as I said, all the sort of ulterior things that are going on with Arsenal, Leeds are in really good form at this moment in time. Was it one loss in like 12 games or 11 games or whatever it is, which was, let's be honest, if we had a Darwin goal, we probably wouldn't have lost. And then, as I said, and at Ellen Road, we haven't lost since November. So I don't think it's a write-off, and I do think Leeds United can get something. And I actually think we might, and I actually think we probably will. I actually think we are going to get something tomorrow. Maybe, as I said, maybe I'm shooting from the hip a bit here, but that's what I do think. And last time I said that, we actually beat Chelsea, so you never know. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. But that doesn't mean that I won't be surprised if we lose the game, because I actually wouldn't, but, you know. John Pepper says, Leeds 2, Arsenal 1. Mate, that'd be an unbelievable result, wouldn't it? Any injury news for tomorrow? Yeah, there is, mate. Goodmanson might be back, but I don't think he will be. But best with him is obviously that he'll be back for Forest, which is obviously the more important game for us, because you'd rather beat Forest than beat Arsenal. I mean, you'd rather beat both, but you'd rather beat Forest, naturally. Biol will be missing. Nemec's missing. Dan James is back, so they're the kind of, and nobody else is injured. So that's kind of the situation with it, really. A win tomorrow will be amazing. A draw would be good, and even a narrow defeat will be okay if we played well. The Forest game is much more important to get a result. And the other thing to mention with this, obviously, this weekend as well is, and I'll get into some of your more guys coming after there, is that actually this could be actually, I know we're playing Arsenal and this sounds utterly ridiculous maybe, but actually I think I'd rather play Arsenal at home, just with Leeds United's base. This is not what West Ham would rather do, but for Leeds United, I think I'd rather us play a home game against Arsenal than I would rather us go to Chelsea. Chelsea have been pretty flawless since Rossinia's come in, of course. They've won, I think, 5 of the 6 games, and they were pretty unlucky actually in the Arsenal game that they lost 3-2 in, obviously as well, and they weren't actually that bad that night. So, and they obviously just got that massive win midweek as well away into Milan. So I think they're in a good phase, Chelsea, at this moment under Liam Rossinia, and I wouldn't want to be playing them at all. And actually, if obviously West Ham play Chelsea this weekend, if people are not aware. So if West Ham get beat, or which you'd probably expect they do at Chelsea, and we get anything, then we've had a really positive weekend this weekend. And I do think this is possible. I do think this is possible, and I do think this could be. I mean, if we win this weekend and sort of West Ham were to lose, I think that's obviously massive for us. Mark's main thing is West Ham lose. Yeah, it is. But you'd probably rather. I don't know what you'd rather actually. Would you rather? Well, you probably would rather Leeds win and obviously them win as well. Because the other thing to mention about this weekend is that Forest play Palace at home. I actually think Forest will beat Palace. This is just a feeling of mine, but I do think Forest will beat Palace. But regardless, one of them teams or both teams, if they draw, have to drop points as well. So that is obviously something to bear in mind as well this weekend. So it could be a bit of a swinger weekend. But obviously, look, there's no doubt about it. We've got a really hard game. And we've got a lot of actually decent home games left still. We've got Forest to play at home. We've got Brentford to play at home. We've got Burnley to play at home. We've got Wolves to play at home. We've got Brighton to play at home. We've got another one as well, which I can't remember, to play at home as well. So we've got a lot of winnable home games left. And this is probably this is the trickiest home game we've got left. We've got Man City at home as well, obviously, still. But this is the trickiest one. But, as I said, it could be a decent weekend for us. Need a Chelsea win tomorrow and it takes the pressure off the Arsenal result. Yeah, well, we obviously play first tomorrow as well, which I think is a bit of a positive. Because I think if we were, say we get a result against Arsenal, I think if you see that as a West Ham player and before you go out and you're like, oh my God, they've just got a result against Arsenal, it won't help them. It won't help them. Yeah, Wolves, I did have mention Wolves. Yeah, we've got them to play as well. Nice to see the London side struggling. Definitely too many of them in the Prem. Yeah, 100%, mate. It's dominated by a minute. Need a Chelsea. Nice to see. I'm keep reading the same ones here. How many points do you think? Were with Scott? I'd say 4. 42. How many points do you think we'll end on with? Yeah, the only thing, as I said, I keep saying this, but the only thing that slightly worries me is I think we're playing really well at the moment. I think the team's full of confidence. I think the system hasn't been found out yet at all in this five at the back system. I think we're still schooling teams with this five at the back, and I don't think they can deal with our wing backs. So all these situations that are going well for this moment, my only worry is if one of them drops down, how do Leeds United react? If our system gets worked out, if the players lose confidence, or some big players go down injured, how do Leeds United react then? So if Leeds United carry on playing how they're doing at this moment in time, I think we all think we're going to stay in the league. It's just if them factors get changed. Veal had, mate, I can't pronounce your name, but you've asked it a few times, so I'll answer it. Has Amora been linked to us? He has, mate, but in a roundabout way. So he's been linked from Waco, which is obviously the forum that I'm sure everyone's aware of. And then tonight he has actually been left out the Wolfsburg squad. We don't quite know why yet, but obviously if there's something does progress there, we'll obviously hear about it probably in the next few days. Also, Palace lose to Forest. They are definitely in a relegation result. Yeah, no, 100%. If Palace lose to Forest, and actually, as I said, I actually think they will lose that, then definitely. If every team doing Everton on us, we're in trouble. Well, we just need draws though. If we drew every game, we'd stay in the league, I think. It's a real shame that Smith didn't work out. Maybe he's crap, but he's the sort of versatile profile we could have done with right now, potentially. 15 points might do it, says Agent. Maybe. Well, we're on 26, so you'd hope. I mean, we asked this last week, but this was before the West Ham result. So obviously West Ham winning last week as well. So what points do you think you're going to need to stay up? So say what points do you think 18th position will get? So you'll obviously need one more than that to get to 17th. So what do you actually think? Where do we all think they're going to end up? Radabay 57 says, only come across this channel recently, enjoying it a lot, very, very authentic, nice work. Thank you very much, mate. I actually get that quite a bit, they're very authentic, so but I do appreciate it. I am myself, so I guess that must come across, but I appreciate the support, I really do. Who's the Korean player who supposedly come to Leeds? I thought we weren't signing anyone, John. No, he's a guy that plays for, he's played for Celtic before, I can't remember. Jordan says 34, that's lower than we've seen last week. So 34 gets you safe. I tell you what, if 34 is safe, mate, I'll be up. I'll be absolutely flying because well, we'll get to 34. I thought. I mean, that's only 8 points in our last 16. We should get that. What would your team be tomorrow? If it were me, I'd go Darlow, Rodon, Bornau, Strauch, Bogle, Ampadu, Stack, Justin, Brendan, Facundo, DCL, GG over Bornau if he's fit. I would go tomorrow Darlow, Bogle right wing back, Rodon, Bornau. As I said, this is for me as well, is if Goodmanson's not back. But even still, I think I would play Bornau because I think you're going to need his height for set pieces. So I'll go Rodon, Bornau and Strauch. I would go Goodmanson if he's fit. If not, obviously Justin. And then I would go the same team that we played almost in the last game in terms of I would play Aronson. I wouldn't play Buonanotte. I would play Gruev, I would play all Longstaff, and then I would play Stack and Ampadu. I think we need the extra support, and I know when we look at that team, you go, there's not many creators in it, and I think obviously that's why you've put Facundo Buonanotte in there, which I do get. But we are playing Arsenal, and they are a really good side. I think that's what he'll go with. I think he'll go with the same team that played against Everton, except the fact he might put Longstaff in instead of Gruev. I don't think he will, though, but he might do. And obviously, if Goodmanson's back, he'll play him. Genk play. I think 40 will be enough. Okay, yeah. We need 38. I feel this season. Great chat tonight, mate. Fingers crossed for the boys tomorrow. Thank you, mate. Thank you. And yeah, definitely fingers crossed. Leicester 506 says, hi, mate. Who would you like to go down? Forest, Crystal Palace, Spurs, Bournemouth, or West Ham? Who would I like to go down? Oh, I've never been asked that one before. To be honest, I don't really care. Like, it's not like there's anyone that I massively dislike in there, if I'm being totally honest. So I don't really care, to be honest. Maybe Spurs, because it'd be funny, but I don't think they will. But maybe Spurs, but I honestly don't really care. As long as it's not Leeds, lads. As long as it's not Leeds, I'm not too bothered. I don't think he will put Goodmanson in. Probably bench at best. Yeah, that's what I think, mate. And the other thing is with the Goodmanson is he'll obviously have an eye on the Forest game, and what he won't want to do is rush him back too early for the Arsenal game, and then he misses the Forest game. That would be daft. So I don't think he'll do that. I agree that it will be the same team with maybe Longstaff in for Gruev. Yeah, that's kind of what I think, mate. I actually think Longstaff will be perfect for this game because he's got more legs, I think, than Gruev. I think that'd be better for us. So you play obviously Stack on the left hand side, Ampadu at the the sort of holder, and then Longstaff on the right. I think that'd be nice. Do you guys still think you're getting Larsen? No, we don't, mate. For the most part, no, we don't. Scott, name 2 players you would like in for Monday, and everyone likes Scott's videos. Oh yeah, thank you, Aaron. Yeah, if you could help the channel by dropping like, subscribe, all that good stuff does massive help. Like I said, the sport recently has been just ridiculous. So if you could continue with that would be fantastic. But also, as I said, when I get likes and subscriptions, as I said, it basically boosts the video, and YouTube go, wow, everyone's liking this video, it must be good, and it pushes it out there, and it really helps me because I'm a small channel. Like I always say, if you're liking Mr. Beast videos, he gets 300 million views, probably doesn't matter at all, does it? But obviously it's a bit different with me because I'm not getting 300 million. I mean, I wish I was. I mean, I'd be unbelievable, but I'm not. So yeah, if you could do that, would be fantastic. And also, name 2 players that I would like in for Monday. 2 players I like in for Monday. I will go with Strand Larsen. Why not? And I would go with... Who have been linked to a left wing back? We've been linked to a left wing back. Another left wing back, but I'm not quite sure I've been linked to. I just want to see us go for it. No one is expecting points, so nothing to lose if we sit deep and they're able to break us down and cause problems. I disagree with this. I think we can. I think we can get points in this game, and I wouldn't want to see us just go and willy-nilly blow for blow with them and get picked off. I think that'd be a bit, personally, I think a bit daft. And actually, when you look at sort of what we've done recently, we've obviously played Chelsea at home in a game similar, because Chelsea were flying when we played them, obviously back in November, and we actually we played that game with 30% possession, and we sat in and we sort of soaked it up, and I thought it worked really well. So I'd be looking for a similar level of performance really in this one, a similar sort of situation personally. I really couldn't care less who goes down as long as it does. Exactly, mate. I just can't. We hadn't really ever talked about on this channel what would be the situation if Leeds get relegated, because I don't even know if I can face it. I mean, imagine. I would say this to my brother a few weeks ago, and he was like, oh, imagine all that sort of we go again nonsense if we get relegated, and it's just almost painful. So if we do end up going down, obviously we'll carry on doing this and we'll talk about it. But God, I bloody hope we don't. Trevor says 45 points, defo. Wow. 45 points. I mean, 45 points would definitely keep you up. But is that what you think they'll... That bloody hell, that's high, mate. So you think the team that finishes 18th, they'll get 44? I don't think it'll be that high, personally, but because that would be high. And if it's 45, mate, I'd be a bit concerned, truthfully, as well. Gruev heat map been coming. Well, we need it tomorrow or on Monday when deadline day is, mate. That Gruev heat map is there. Maybe we could do another one. Maybe we could do... Because Gruev wasn't particularly liked at that point. Maybe who's not liked at this moment that you could put in? Maybe Okafor, and maybe an Okafor heat map. Maybe do an Okafor heat map one day. That would be brilliant. Would be hilarious. Palace were flying too when we smashed them. True. They were doing better. I think they were on a bit of a downturn and they'd played a lot of games. But you are right. They were much better form than they are now. I think 40 points has been enough almost every season. Certainly more recent terms. West Ham went down with 42 one year, but lately it's been stretched out. Yeah, I do think... though this year is going to be higher than usual. Like last year was a freak because it was just 3 crap promoted teams in truth. But this year it's obviously going to be higher, of course. And if you look at the teams that are down there, like even if you look at sort of, say West Ham go down, that's a good team. In terms of personnel, that is a good team that could get relegated. It really is. Like they've got a lot of good players, West Ham. Like you're looking at Jared Bowens and Somerville's and sort of, even this new like Castellanos I think looks quite decent to be fair. But even like, I mean, they're a good side, aren't they? They are a good side. When I say sit deep, I might, like we did with Everton second half. Oh, I see what you mean, mate. Yeah, I agree with you on that. We shouldn't be sitting like that. I agree with that. But the Chelsea game, I thought we got it well, didn't we? Because we pressed in moments, and we always said pressing triggers, which we need to do tomorrow. Because we can't just soak it up completely like the Everton game. But in the same breath, of course, we want to throw digs ourselves. We can't just be all one-way traffic. But I thought in the Chelsea game, we got the balance perfectly. So I'd almost be looking at that Chelsea game and sort of using that as a mirror. The only thing with Chelsea is I don't think you can beat the Arsenal team up like we are. Like that night we beat Chelsea up, didn't we? I don't think you can do that with this Arsenal team. You just got to contain their physicality because they've got people like Declan Rice in the midfield are obviously brilliant players, aren't they? Who are really physical and really can dominate the midfield. So if you let them, you can really be obviously struggle, and obviously they've got that sort of threat on set pieces. We've got to be sharp on set piece tomorrow. And to be honest, this is the game massively that you do miss Biol. I don't think Biol maybe would have blocked that the goal for Everton scored, obviously Tino Barry. But I don't think we've missed him loads in these few games. I think we're going to miss him massively tomorrow because we needed him for the fight against Gabriel's and stuff because they are really good in there, as we know. Diesel will score more goals with better quality service from Buonanotte. I agree. I quite liked Buonanotte's cameo. And I think long term, not right now because he's playing really well, but long term, he's a better footballer actually than Brendan Aronson. And I think that's got to be the strategy going forward. And it's just a case of sort of keep Aronson in the team until he sort of fades, his form fades, and then I think Buonanotte would be the long term solution really. I can see 18th thoughts finishing on 36 to 39 points. A lot of us are saying the same, mate. I think it's going to be high in it. Anyway, thanks all for watching. As always, I will wrap it up there. I hope you've enjoyed the video and the streams. It has been back-to-back. So if you missed the one earlier, we talked I know there's some Perri news that came out today. We talked all about that as well. And also, we've been going for 49 minutes and 30 seconds now, so you're more than welcome to fire back. We talk all about sort of everything that's happened recently. So yeah, there's loads of Leeds chatter, and obviously a lot of me responding to a lot of your guys' comments as well. So if you have just joined, and also as I said, if you are new, if you could like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and actually you can like if you're not new as well, ideally. But yeah, as I said, it massively helps me. And I mean, you've seen it as people have been doing it more recently. The channel's just going from strength to strength, as this number in the top thing kind of says. And obviously, if you've seen my view counts, they are just ridiculous at the moment. So yeah, thanks for all for that. Anyway, I shall see you all later, everybody. And I'll see you tomorrow for an instant match reaction. We'll go straight live after the game, and we'll talk all about, hopefully, Leeds United's 6-0 win against Arsenal. See you later, everybody. Bye for now.